the strangest stink. "What is that stink, kids?" cried Jolly Good Day from where he sat on the beach. He was lathered in suntan lotion and slurping a cold drink to keep himself cool. "What stink?" asked the children innocently. "It's not like the smell from a volcano, more like a mixture of rotten eggs and smelly feet," said Jolly Good Day, and grimaced. "Has anyone just farted?" The children looked all around. "Oh, now I remember," said Magni. "It's farting season for the hippos now, yeah. And the zebras air their toes at exactly this time of year," added Brimir. "Are you trying to fool me, kids? It's impossible to breathe here." Jolly Good Day sprayed himself with an aftershave, which was so strong that flies dropped dead all around him. There was a long silence. "Actually, we are fooling you," said Elva, as she floated like a bee around a cherry tree in full bloom. "It's so boring to wash ourselves in the waterfall." "The butterfly powder could be washed off," said the children, "so we've stopped having baths." "Aren't you suffocated by the stink?" asked Jolly Good Day, holding his nose. "If we fly fast enough, the wind blows away the stink," said Elva as she whizzed past. "My dearest kiddies, it's the easiest thing in the world to fix this stink." "Do you know a way to do that as well?" The children were amazed. "I know the answer to everything," said Jolly Good Day. "Follow me to the waterfall." The children glided in the direction of the Fairmost Falls, hovering over Jolly Good Day like seagulls as he walked along the path to the waterfall, which fell with a tremendous roar into a canyon. The children were overwhelmed when they felt the power of the waterfall. The roar was so loud, it was difficult to hear anyone speak. A huge rainbow formed as the sun shone through the waterfall's misty spray. "Just look at how depressing this is, kids," shouting Jolly Good Day, looking down into the immensely deep canyon. "What?" shouted the children, surprised. "A whole waterfall going to waste, of no use to anyone." "But it's beautiful," exclaimed Elva. "No, it's a childish waste of time to stare at waterfalls. Now watch carefully," said Jolly Good Day. He rolled up his sleeves and took out a hammer. He beat the rainbow in the canyon from all directions and battered it into the shape of a little ball. He stirred into all the waterfall's misty spray and its loud roar and created a brown, gooey mess, which he then thrust into an aerosol can. Rainbowless, roarless, and mistless, the waterfall trickled feebly into the canyon like a runny nose. "What have you done?" whispered the children, listening to the silence. "I made a magic stuff out of the roar, the spray, and the rainbow. So you'll never need to wash yourselves again," said Jolly Good Day, and he shook the aerosol can before spraying the stuff over the children. "Magic stuff? This is Teflon, wonder stuff, which makes you so slippery that dirt and mud can never stick to you. So we'll never stink again. Not while you're coated with Teflon wonder stuff. Will we ever need to bathe in the waterfall's mist?" "Try lying in the mud," said Jolly Good Day. The kids rolled around in the mud, but the dirt fell off them immediately. The children took the most disgusting filth they could find, full of dog poop, rotten bananas, dead flies, and tiger pee, and threw it at each other. It made no difference. The filth ran off them. Their hands, nails, and bottoms were spotlessly clean. They were so spick and span that there wasn't even a whiff of smelly toes about them anymore. "Thanks to the great Teflon wonder stuff, you are so slippery that you can't even hold hands or hug each other," said Jolly Good Day with a big smile. His teeth were as white and straight as a row of sugar cubes. The children tried to hold hands, but couldn't get a grip. They were more slippery than salmon, slimier than eels. They tried to hug each other, but no matter how hard they squeezed each other, no one could hold on to anyone. The kids burst out laughing. However, because they could still fly, the butterfly powder was under the magic stuff, of course. Wow, you're not only the funniest man in the world, but also the far most clever, said Brimir. How much does a Teflon wonder stuff cost? Oof, not much. Just a small dash of youth in addition. Just a few percent, asked the children. Yeah, just a few percent in addition, said Jolly Good Day. The children realized it wasn't really expensive to pay with a little youth from the enormously deep well in order to do without having to bathe themselves in the cold waterfall spray. Hooray for Jolly Good Day. Now everything was really perfect for the children on the island, and they danced in the blue sky. They could fly whenever they wanted, the sun shone all day, the sky was clear and blue, and they were coated with Teflon wonder stuff which kept them squeaky clean. And now you're ready for the flying competition of the century, cried Jolly Good Day. More speed, more excitement, more fun. Hooray, shouted the children. Now we're really going to have a good time. The great flying competition and into the blue. Jolly Good Day took a loudspeaker and blared out. The great flying competition is about to begin. Now we'll really find out who's the best on the island. The children looked at Jolly Good Day in amazement. But everyone's the best at something. But the one who's the best at flying is the very best of all, and now it's time for the flying fun competition. I pick Hulda, said Brimir. No, there's no fun having people in teams, said Jolly Good Day. Let's have everyone against everyone else instead. The one who reaches the highest is the best of you all. Off you go. The kids shot up into the air, shouting and screaming. Elva and Magni were equal in first place and zoomed like jet fighters straight up into the sky, but a black and white flock of terns jabbed them back down to the ground. Arnar the Thinker then took the lead, but he collided with a gaggle of geese and crashed to the ground with them. Brimir and Hulda were soon by far and away flying the highest. I must get above her, thought Brimir, and with difficulty climbed just a fraction higher than Hulda. They were now the only ones left in the competition and were soaring at a fearful height. The land below seemed tiny, and the children on the ground were no longer even little dots. Indeed, the lakes and forests were like little blue and green spots on the ground. They had reached higher than the jabbing terns, higher than the gliding gannets, higher than the soaring swans, and finally even higher than the eager eagle. They had reached as high as the butterfly powder would allow them, and they would have been dead level if Brimir's hair hadn't stood on end. Ha ha, tough luck. I win, you lose, called out Brimir triumphantly. I flew higher than you. Hulda's cheeks burned red. Hair doesn't count. Ha ha, sure it does, sour grapes. I wish I could get much higher than you, shouted Hulda. But Hulda had forgotten that she had an amazingly beautiful wishing stone in her pocket. As soon as she had spoken the wish, the stone changed into an ordinary grey pebble, and Hulda shot far up into the sky. Brimir managed to grab hold of her belt as they zoomed even higher at a tremendous speed. Cheater, I won, I'm the best, cried Brimir. No, let me go, I won, said Hulda. Brimir bit Hulda's foot hard, and she tore out a large chunk of his hair. And that's how they fought in the sky, propelled by the power of the wishing stone, higher and higher and higher. Traitor, shouted Brimir, you destroyed the wishing stone. Idiot, I could make any wish I wanted. Brimir and Hulda were now dangerously high in the sky. If a gust of wind hadn't blown them sideways, they would certainly have flown far out into space and been lost, or made a hole in the ozone layer and been burned by the sun. The gust of wind blew them a very long way. They were blown over the high mountains and the narrow gorges, and finally far out to sea. But Brimir and Hulda did not see any of this, because they were quarreling and squabbing, screaming and scratching, punching and pummeling. It was not until much later that they looked down and noticed that they couldn't see the island anymore. Below them was nothing but an endless ocean with whales and sharks, and in the distance a glint of unknown mountains, valleys and clouds. Now see what you've done, cried Brimir. We've been blown off into the blue. Blue? Where is this blue, anyhow? Oh, shut up, Hulda. Oh, shut up yourself, Brimir, you jerk, said Hulda. You just had to go and grab me. And I had to go and give you some wishing stone, said Brimir. The children became silent as they were blown even further along. They were blown so far from the nailed sun that it became a red spot above the ocean in the west. Look, said Brimir suddenly. What, said Hulda irritably. The sun is setting. So what? I'd forgotten how beautiful the sunset is, said Brimir. Hulda said nothing, but Brimir noticed now how she watched the sunset, how it was reflected in her eyes. The power of the butterfly powder only works in sunlight, however, and they had now been blown over to the other side of the planet. It was pitch black there because the sun could only shine on one side of the planet at a time. Underneath the darkness lay a land with forests and lakes. Oh no, we're falling, shouted Brimir. Oh, I don't want to die, wailed Hulda. They were falling fast. The wind whistled through their hair. The land approached with growing speed. They were now lower than the eager eagle, lower than the soaring swans, lower than the gliding gannets. They were now so low that they landed on the ground with a big crash. Wind-cold wolf trees. In a dark forest, a weak sound could be heard from under the bushes. Hulda, Hulda, are you all right? Brimir felt his way with his hands. Hulda, where are you? I'm here, Brimir. Her voice echoed in the gloom. When his eyes had gotten used to the darkness, he could see where Hulda was hanging from a tree. Wind-cold wolf trees. In a dark forest, a weak sound could be heard from under the bushes. Hulda, Hulda, are you all right? Brimir felt his way with his hands. Hulda, where are you? I'm here, Brimir. Her voice echoed in the gloom. When his eyes had gotten used to the darkness, he could see where Hulda was hanging from a tree. Shall I help you down? Asked Brimir. I can manage by myself. Leave me alone. A great cracking sound could be heard as Hulda tumbled from the tree. Brimir hovered anxiously over her. Are you okay? Leave me alone. It was the easiest way to get down. Brimir was silent, but he saw that Hulda had hurt herself. They were in a forest, but the trees were bare and leafless. The wind whistled through the naked branches. The sky was full of clouds. What shall we do? Asked Brimir. We're lost. We? Are you going to follow me? I don't need you. Brimir remained silent and looked sadly at Hulda. But we'll never find our way in this darkness, he finally said. I'm going to wait until morning, said Hulda. I can fly home when the sun comes up. Hulda sat down under a tree and covered herself with a pile of faded leaves. Brimir walked dejectedly to another tree, rubbed together 2 sticks, and lit a little fire with some dry twigs. In the fire's glow, he saw Hulda shivering with cold. Don't you want to warm yourself by my fire, Hulda? She made no reply. And that's how they sat waiting for daybreak. Hulda shivered and Brimir sat by the fire. The night was unbelievably long. Brimir was starving, but no fruit could be found on the trees, and there were no animals in sight. Exhausted, he fell asleep. When Brimir awoke, the sun had not still risen. Nonetheless, he felt as if he'd slept long and well. After pondering this for a short while, his face suddenly turned deathly pale. Hulda, what now, you jerk? I don't think the sun is going to rise, Brimir said. Talk about being pessimistic. Of course the sun will rise. Haven't you forgotten something, Hulda? We let Jolly Good Day fix the sun over our island, so there will be everlasting day. Oh no, said Hulda. And now we are on the other side of the planet in endless night, which means we'll have to walk all the way home. Don't you think Jolly Good Day will save us? He always saved the day, and the kids must be getting worried about us. Brimir and Hulda waited a while longer. They fell asleep and woke up a few times, but it was always to the same darkness, and no one came to save them. Their tummies began to rumble in unison. They've forgotten us. Maybe they've forgotten you, but not me, said Hulda sulkily. But it's always noon on our island. They don't realize how long we've been missing. They must be on the way. I'm going to wait, said Hulda. I want to leave right now, said Brimir. Go then, see if I care. Brimir set off into the forest. Hulda remained seated on her own. Wait, Brimir. Are you coming with me, said Brimir. No, I'm going to walk behind you, said Hulda. So the wild animals will eat you first. Brimir didn't answer her, but Hulda followed right behind him. They got stung by thistles and stumbled over falling tree trunks. In the darkness, the trees were like ogres and monsters. Their branches were long, gnarled hands that stretched out to catch them and keep them in the forest. Sometimes they creaked and cracked as if they could talk. Creak and crack, crimping Brimir, branches blasted and broke. Bleak and black, mangling Brimir, creak, crunch and croak. Oh, said Brimir, this is like my worst nightmare. Sometimes the whining of the wind in the trees was like a ghostly groan from the forest. Whoo, hiss, Hulda, whom we've hold, here in this eerie, howling cold, we'll haunt and taunt her all alone, we'll hold and hide her far from home. Brimir! It was Hulda who shouted. Brimir came to halt. What? There is one thing we should do before we go any further, said Hulda. What's that? Asked Brimir brusquely. We should try and be friends again, otherwise we'll never get home. Brimir tried to look at Hulda but could see nothing in the dark, nothing except a little tear which glistened in her eye. Yeah, you're my dearest buddy, let's be friends again, said Brimir. Oh, Brimir, and you're my best friend. Forgive me for being so nasty to you. Brimir tried to give Hulda a hug, but couldn't. They were so slippery from the Teflon wonder stuff. The children crept on through the forest. They were still shivering from fear and cold, and their tummies rumbled from hunger, but their hearts were warm with friendship once more. They hadn't gone very far when they heard a ferocious growl behind them. Brimir turned around and looked straight into the jaws of a large brown bear. Its teeth were as sharp as icicles.